What's going on, guys? We have Ryan Smith in the house. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be
Thanks
here.
for showing up. Bro, dude,
Yep.
huge summer for you. Holy smokes.
Yep.
965 pest control accounts or serviced.
Serviced. Yep.
You've made over $1 million this year
Yes.
from real estate, selling two properties, your commissions in pest, like
And
over,
selling a pest control business.
and then selling a pest business.
Yep.
How many customers did you have at the pest business?
About 500.
Okay,
so
cool.
We were small.
Yeah.
But it was a good learning experience. So
Dude, what a year.
taught me a ton.
We hit 7 figs.
Yes, we did.
Let's go.
Congrats to you as well.
Thanks, man. And then, so what else I want to hit on with you? You had 87% retention of all your accounts.
Currently at 87.
Currently at
So
87,
I'll
which is,
end a little bit lower, but yeah.
but still, that's incredible. We're already in like almost end of October.
Yeah.
So big shout out to you. So over $1 million in total revenue is what you sold in pest.
Yeah.
I love that. Out of how many reps and where did you finish in your standing with your company?
Number 3 or 4, I think.
Out of-
we had 4 reps that hit $1 million. I think Aptiv had over 1,000 reps this year. I don't know exactly
huge.
how many, but yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember talking to you before you went out for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I knew you were going to do well.
Thanks. Yeah, that was the goal. I mean, I feel like if you go from being a business owner to, just knocking doors, you kind of have to make a name for yourself. That was my
You
goal.
have to,
is,
yeah.
Have a big summer.
That's good. What's the plan? Like what was motivating? What was fueling that for you?
Well, I wanted to prove that you could throw down massive volume with good retention. I feel like stepping away from door to door for a few years was really good for me because number one, I missed it. I realized that that's kind of like where my heart's at. Mm-hmm. But number two, you start to see things from a different perspective. When you're kind of caught up in like the day-to-day game of knocking doors and posting big numbers, the way you feel about retention and just the customer experience overall just changes a lot when you start your own company.
Yeah, it does.
So
I love that.
I think it gave me a little bit more empathy, which is why my retention was high this year.
That's awesome.
So
I know, like what's different from you versus other reps? Like what stands out about you that's helped you succeed?
Well, I really obsessed over the process before the summer. So actually, the reason why you and I met here is because I rented an office. And so January through April, I was here, 4 to 5 hours a day, just focusing on my process, memorizing, grinding, role playing every single day. I figured if I was going to, sell my business and come back to knocking doors, I had to know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I got really granular. I picked the brains of like the top guys in the industry, and just told myself that I was going to go all out. So
What did a typical day like? What was your volume like day to day? How
like 10 a day. Yeah.
10 a day.
10,
And
12.
how many doors are you hitting?
Oh, like 100 plus usually.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on the day. Some days when you're really kind of firing on all cylinders, might talk to like 70, 80 people, but most days it was a lot. I tried to knock at least 100 doors a day because I felt like to sell 10 solid accounts per day, you have to talk to at least 50 or 60 people.
Yeah.
I mean, you could potentially sell 10 of 40 decision makers.
Absolutely.
But you don't necessarily want that.
You're right. Yeah. Cause some might fall off.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads me to something that you and I are both passionate about is like picking your prospect, not trying to sell everybody.
Yeah.
Transparency. Talk to me about that. Why is that important?
I think timing is everything, right? And so if someone just doesn't have the time of day, like you can push through, and sometimes your sense of urgency overwhelms the customer's sense of urgency to where you can actually get time with people who don't really have time to give.
Yeah.
So I try to be respectful there, and if someone didn't have as much time as I wanted from them, I would come back later.
Yeah.
So not being scared to set a go back if there's actual interest is big.
Yep.
I also think that just I don't know. I mean, the other thing is if someone told me, like if they gave an objection, like, hey, I really have to talk to my wife about this, I was always respectful. I always came back later. Like I never forced the issue. Like
I love
closing
that.
a one-legger is never going to work out in your favor.
And this is why our retention is good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And you can still, to counter argue people, well, yeah, but you're not going to sell a lot. Yes, you can.
You can definitely sell a lot. You just have to be patient.
Yeah,
That's it.
I like that. And you have to play the volume game. Like you said, like if somebody's trying to talk to 20, 30 decision makers a day and have those results, dude, you're trying to manipulate the system.
Yes.
Like, sure, could you sell a lot? Yeah, but your attrition is going to be horrendous.
Correct.
Right? So pick your poison.
I think top sellers in particular have a big problem with that because when you're selling at that volume, you're charismatic enough to sell a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you got to pick and choose.
Yeah, dude, I've lost my sense of pride in saying I sell 1 in 3.
Yeah.
When I used to sell pests, like I lost my sense of pride with that because I realized that like who gives a heck if I sell 1 in 10, but I still come up top with the most amount of sales, highest retention, most revenue. That's the best salesperson.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point because closing ratio doesn't matter if it's not making money for you or for the company.
Exactly. So guys that flex like I close 1 and 2, I'm like, bro, you shouldn't be proud about that. Because tell me what your attrition looks like.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's a balancing act. There's a volume game you have to play.
Yep.
Like my friend Jeremy Miner always, he bags on, this whole thing of like, it's a skills game, right? And he baits a lot of people with it. And it's good. It's very clever. But Steph Curry has taken over 17,000 shots in the league.
Yeah.
Most players haven't even take over 6,000.
Yep.
He does take more shots. He does get tons of practice. And if you study him, you study, Kobe Bryant, other big dogs, like they outtrain, like compared to other people, they outwork everyone.
Yes.
Kobe's finishing his workout before the next guy is even starting his.
Yeah.
And so I love that you have the training, the discipline to do that. What things outside of like the training, like what things related to personal development helped build the framework, the mindset to achieve and persevere?
The first thing that comes to mind is definitely getting into alignment with my wife. It's the biggest thing.
That's huge.
Yeah, because if you're not aligned with the people that you love, you're going to burn out really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those other aspects of your life that might be under-maintained or ignored will always catch up to you.
Yeah.
And so, like, knowing that my wife was willing to make a huge sacrifice and stay at home with the kids this summer while I was gone, I was visiting every 3 or 4 weeks. Like we hardly saw each other.
Yeah.
But knowing that she had my back was like, okay, I got to show up every single day because it's harder for her back home than it is for me here.
Absolutely.
And so I felt a lot of pressure. But it was a good type of pressure.
Yeah.
It was that shared responsibility of like, okay, we're both going to do our very best, and fortunately, something incredible came of it. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's and that speaks volumes to your wife. Like, props to her.
Yeah,
that's a huge sacrifice.
She's amazing.
That's incredible, man. Yeah. I love hearing that. Tell me more about like what your guys' vision was with that. Was it just the freedom of like more time together throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, freedom of more time. It was also just wanting to get back to Utah, get back into recruiting, and have like a network of friends and peers that we worked and shared life with. Probably our biggest challenge moving out to Dallas and starting a pest control business out there is we just felt isolated. We felt kind of lonely. And so that was like pretty central to our why, is like coming back to Utah, finding community and finding purpose.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, man. For reps who are struggling and they let's say they're struggling to get their spouse on board or struggling to have I'd say a goal that encompasses the partner, what would you advise them? Like what?
I would say go into that conversation with a willingness to not have your way. Because we're salesmen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so a lot of the time we go into a conversation with the end in mind, and we never really give our partner the chance to express themselves.
Yeah.
When really, I mean, maybe door-to-door is not what makes you and your spouse happy. Maybe you have to accept that.
Yeah.
But if you accept that before the conversation and you really see through to both possibilities, you will both probably come to the conclusion that it's better that you do knock doors and make the sacrifice together.
Yeah.
But your spouse has to feel heard and understood.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that if you have your agenda.
Yes.
You're thinking about what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great advice, man. I think that's in essence how you do sell someone.
Exactly. You have to be okay with no.
You have to be okay with no and detach yourself from any outcome.
Exactly.
And having that ability allows you to really empathize and connect.
Yes.
And do it confidently, because when you're not worried about the outcome, you have a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
You're good. You don't do this, I'm good. I'm Gucci.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of that comes from the passion of what you sell, but also the right perspective of there's so many people out there.
There are.
We don't need everyone.
Yep.
There's so much money out there. So many people.
Yep. And I would just tell myself, like, hey, people have bugs, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has bugs. And so, like, if this person has bugs but doesn't want to sign up, that's fine.
It's okay.
I think a lot of reps will waste a ton of time with prospects just because they know they have a problem.
Yeah.
But having a problem doesn't make you a good prospect.
Correct. It doesn't. Yeah. That's so key, dude. People in solar do the same thing. They'll go to a home and they're like, oh, that roof is perfect.
Yeah.
I don't even look. It doesn't matter.
And they spend like an hour there just because it's south facing, right?
Yeah. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's pick the prospect, not the situation.
Yep.
Yeah. When I used to sell pests, guys were like, dude, there's webs up here. This is huge. I'm like, dude, don't even focus on that.
Don't focus on it. Yeah.
Because even if like I run into 5 homes in a row that all have tons of webs, what happens when I run into the majority that don't?
Yeah.
Then my conviction drops, right?
Exactly.
And then you start getting in your head thinking, oh, I can only sell when there are webs.
Exactly.
Or I can only sell when there's a good roof, right? And dude, I've had in solar where I pulled up to deals where someone else sat, and I'm like, dude, I would have never even knocked on that door, bro. I'm like, there's a huge tree right in front of the south-facing roof, bro. What were you thinking? And I blew up them text.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll just go. And I walk into the customer's home, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, guys, look, this isn't going to make sense. I mean, I asked, is that tree worth $65,000 to you? And they're like, no, of course not. What do you mean? I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like, you're not going to like this, but I can lock in your rate, stop it from increasing with inflation, save you a lot of money over time, like around 65,000, but that tree's going to have to come down.
Wow.
And like, we're willing to hear it out. I'm like, well, how much is your bill? And so we built the pain. And then I'm like, okay, look, the prospect was prime. The humidity was there. They were feeling the pain. And so who am I to prejudge basically what we're doing? We're prejudging a situation, not the person, and say, this is going to be a fit.
Yeah.
Right. For all you know, they could be paying $400 in our industry and say like they're desperate. They might be on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. And if the rate goes up, they're toast.
I love that, dude, because your approach was like super direct and concise. You showed them the benefit, which, the benefit doesn't need that much time in solar because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You acknowledge the possibility of no, and you put the ball in their court.
Yeah.
And you close that person, right?
They did.
Yeah,
yeah.
Of course you did.
And they chopped the tree.
Yes, that's awesome.
So,
yeah.
And then you also want to relate to them. I'd relate to them saying, hey, look, I love trees. I grew up in Oregon. So I hate to be the guy to tell you to chop this thing down. I don't want to do that, but pick your poison, you know? So love that, dude.
Cool.
I think that creates a lot of unnecessary pressure. And we see this in the culture of sales today, dude, like Andy Elliott. Love the guy, love culture, his mentality, his mindset. He's an absolute beast. Okay. But he's pushing people to try to close everybody. There's like this ego of like master closer.
Yep.
It's just, it doesn't jive.
No, that's not my style.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be your style if you're going to be good at sales.
Yeah.
Cardone, the same thing, dude.
My problem with hard closing is I feel like you have to talk so much.
You
have to dominate a conversation in a way that I'm not really comfortable with.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a lot more back and forth and ask the right questions.
Which is true selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true persuasions. People sell themselves.
Correct.
Just ask the right questions. But I feel like it's narcissistic manipulation when you just word vomit and tell them exactly what you want, what it should be.
That's right.
And then make them feel guilty if they don't.
Yeah.
That's how Grant Cardone's team does.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's not me or you.
Bro, I've been in the room with those guys, and I've never seen worse salespeople in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Cardone with his training on business and money.
In real estate.
Real estate, yeah. But when it comes to sales, bro, like his mindset and his frameworks are great, but the aggressiveness is
yeah.
I'm like, bro, I could outsell all your dogs with half the ego and with half the persistence in like just pushiness. It's just you know what I mean? There's pleasant persistence and there's just being an asshole.
I feel like in door-to-door especially, you have to be particularly mindful to be pleasant.
You do.
Because what are they expecting, right?
Yeah, exactly. How do you know when to walk away? Like if you're wasting your time with someone?
If I've asked 3 or 4 questions and I'm either getting like no response, no interest, or they're just telling me no repeatedly. Yeah. And so, I mean, a lot of the time, I was taught originally that you got to spend at least 90 seconds to 2 minutes with someone to know if they're a good prospect or not. And like, there is such a thing as blowing through smoke screens.
Yeah.
But
who
I found
said
myself
that? 90 seconds to know?
90 seconds. I felt like it was more like 20.
Bro, I feel like I can know in 10.
Yeah. Like 15, 20 seconds, I knew.
Yeah.
And I was gone. And I was like, rip into the next door. I was going as fast as I could.
Dude, I've had people shout at me, I might be an extremist with this. But after doing this with tens of thousands of people, I feel like you get pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll walk up to some people and one glance, one word, I turn away.
Yeah.
And like, Nick, you're not going to try. I'm like, no.
Yeah, you just know. You're like,
there's enough signs on nonverbal communication, energy, body language, tonality.
Correct.
That in enough statistics doing this enough times, I'm like, 98% of the time, this turns out this way.
Yeah.
Why would I push?
Well, you know the 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
I feel like 20% of prospects waste 80% of like the sales rep's time.
Yep.
And so it's less about, I think, saving that like 5 or 10 seconds with every single prospect and more about not falling into that trap of talking to the old lady for like an hour.
Bingo. Dude, oh my gosh. It's people telling us no is not our number one problem, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's people that you allow to waste your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Time's a resource.
Yep.
If we had more daylight, more time, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
But we allow people to waste their time. And sometimes, dude, it's the bait suckers. I love the old people. I love old people, okay? But it's those lonely old people that are bored. They want someone to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just old people. Sometimes it's people that come off of, I shouldn't be attacking the people. Sorry, I love them. Grandma, I love you. Grandpa. But it's the people that act interested.
Yeah.
But then they're too, it may be too analytical. They're too you know.
Yeah, exactly. They're the owls.
Cynicals.
Right? They need all the information, and the truth is that you can't give them 100% of the information if you're knocking their door.
Exactly.
And that's not your sale, right?
Yep.
There.
Exactly.
It's also the people that you're actually closing and selling, like the ones that are actually signing up with you. It's getting that sale done in 10 or 15 minutes as opposed to 30.
Yep. Exactly.
And so that comes from like eliminating chit chat, like at the end of the sale.
Yep.
And so my process was a little bit different in that, like, I would still have a little bit of chit chat, but I would always end the sale with expectations, and I would leave super quickly after setting expectations.
I love that. I think the amount of rapport needed to solidify, to get a deal and to solidify a deal is a lot less that in today's world than what most sales reps think it is.
Correct. Yeah, because most people will sign up for like a new product or service online knowing almost nothing about the company except for just the ad they saw.
Yeah. Yeah. We are walking, talking ads.
Yes.
You know, like as salespeople, especially direct sales, like that's what you are.
Yeah.
And you have a lot that you communicate just through your energy, and that can build trust. With some it'll work, some it won't. It's okay. Why would you try to sell those who are going to be, you know, might put like a 3 out of 10 on interest? I'll go find someone as a 5 or 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So sometimes saying no to the prospect is the best thing. So creates more win-win situations. Guard your energy, your conviction. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly.
Because, dude, you ever had that, like, where you try to sell a bunch of people? I've done it myself, where I try to sell somebody who's not super interested.
Oh yeah, we all have.
And I'm like, dude, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah. You kind of feel like almost gross afterwards.
yeah.
I feel bad inside.
You feel desperate. You feel like it's commission breath, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the time wasted is one thing, but the energy that's depleted as well there's a very big cost to that.
Yeah.
Everything in life has a cost. You know, nothing's free. And sometimes trying to sell the wrong person is very costly. And I don't think enough salespeople get it.
Yep.
So
Amen.
learn.
Amen to that.
Learn, people. Stop selling everybody. Dude, at freaking SolarCon, they put me on one of the panels, and they're like, they had one of the objections. It was an objection panel, and it was like, I want to research it. I said, have a good day.
That's awesome.
Well, Nick, you're really good at selling. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah, they probably laughed
There
off
you
the
go.
stage. They're like, that's not a resolve. You're like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't win.
It's fine.
But we win in other ways, not on stage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, I think I love hearing that you're passionate about that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think the other big thing, just to kind of shed some light on the whole retention thing, is like you want to explain things in a way that's nuanced and subtle. Like a lot of sales reps are not subtle anymore.
Expound on that.
So,
Like you're trying to be sneaky?
not sneaky.
Yeah, I know.
Not sneaky
I'm
at
just
all.
browsing.
100% transparent. But I think it's really helpful to explain like both sides of an argument or possibly both outcomes that the customer could have.
I think that's beautiful.
Right?
Agreed.
Because
Tell me more.
let's be honest with ourselves, not every customer is going to have a perfect experience, right?
Yeah.
People are going to call and cancel and be upset that still have
Yep.
bugs.
Yep.
And so kind of allowing for both of those possibilities without telling them, hey, this is going to go bad for you, gives people a lot of confidence. It builds a ton of rapport.
It does.
And then when something bad does happen, they're not freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I would say something along the lines of, and this isn't scripted by any means, but like, hey, pest control is not a perfect science. Obviously, our goal when we show up is not to like nuke your entire property so that nothing ever lives here again.
Yeah.
But we want to get things addressed to where you guys are comfortable in your own home with no bugs. But it is a process. So there's just one thing for you to remember, and that is call us whenever you see bugs. That's it. That's it.
Boom.
So here's
Yeah.
my number. Here's the office. Call us if you see something. And then I would also tell people, hey, look, we use power sprayers. Our technicians might only be here for 15 or 20 minutes. If they're walking fast, they
you're hedging
can
it.
still do
Yep.
a great job
Yeah.
in 15 or 20 minutes. That doesn't mean they didn't get the job done.
Yeah.
That being said, if you feel like something was missed, we absolutely don't want that. Please let us know.
That's fantastic, dude. So you're hedging and you're preventing what you've seen be a problem in the pest
Yes.
control industry, which is, dude, he was only here for 15 minutes. How could he have sprayed everything, right?
And a lot of reps will just say, oh, our guy will be here for at least 30 minutes or he'll be here for an hour.
Doing the wrong
They're
thing.
setting themselves up for failure.
It's more convincing you telling them. I say Con's convinced because it builds trust.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't need to yes bomb them. You don't
No.
need every time we tell them, like, I have this acronym, I call it PGP, pain gain pullback.
Yeah.
Because anytime you lace a benefit, there's like, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I always do a pullback and say, yeah, but in this sense for pest control, be like, he's going to be here 15 minutes. Don't think that it's not enough time.
Yeah.
You might see bugs. That's okay. Call us. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why it's warranted.
Exactly.
So I love it.
Yeah, it's important to tell people the bad stuff because they'll trust you a whole lot more.
Dude, people don't understand, reps don't understand how powerful this is in persuasion,
Yep.
especially if you're a salesperson. Like, the secret to selling well is not being perceived as a salesperson. It's like the greatest
Exactly.
secret.
Yep.
And so when I come into deals, bro, in solar, it's not like they have no idea what to expect. And it's from what they're expecting to what happens is like, a bomb went off.
Well, you know what happens if you don't share any of the cons with the prospect is they go back and they do research.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they doubt your interaction. They're like,
Yeah.
no, that guy didn't really tell me everything.
Yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
going to check this out. And then that's when the doubts start to creep in and they'll call and cancel after their first service.
Yeah, dude, awesome.
So-
Bro, when I go into solar, I'm going in guns blazing. I say, hey, I don't know what the guy told you. This program sucks. What you're doing sucks, but this also sucks. This is a 25-year loan. Here's the interest rate. You're going to put up ugly freaking panels on your roof, right? What am I doing? I'm getting all the ugly out of the way.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't need to sell you. Like my whole thing is you sell me on what you're doing, right? And convince me. I think that's a really convicted person is sell me on doing nothing,
Yeah.
right? And how you communicate that is through massive confidence, being detached as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And telling them cons, like people are like, okay, like, because you start telling them like what's good, they start thinking, well, what's bad.
Yeah.
You start telling them what's bad, they're thinking, well, what's good.
Yeah. I think that's a really crucial skill for like selling in saturated markets.
Yes,
Because
very much so.
if you're the 10th guy to knock on someone's door and you're the only one who is willing to tell them what's not good about your service,
Yep.
you're going to build a lot more trust.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head, especially in saturated markets.
Especially.
This is the secret. So
Yep.
yeah. And I've gotten so many times like, wow, I don't know, like why'd you guys sign up with us? Why'd you do it? You guys were just different.
Yep.
This is why. It's trust.
Exactly.
It's trust. We told them the ugly. And then we get happier customers too. It's a win-win,
Yep.
which leads to referrals, word of mouth,
Yeah.
So love that, bro. Dude, if you could identify, okay, like you're talking to some kid who's not in sales. Okay. He's maybe thinking about getting into sales and he wants to do really well. Where should he start?
Where do I start?
Where do you start? You're some guy that's
Well, I would
just
first thing
getting
I'd start
started.
with is my story, right? Because you kind of put yourself in their shoes when you start with your story. You make yourself a little bit more relatable. Because, honest to goodness, like you and I were both in that position where we were like weighing the pros and cons of maybe doing sales or maybe not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that can help you to relate. The other thing is I think the biggest fear people have of doing door-to-door sales is like, am I going to get treated fairly and like ethically? Am I ever going to be asked to treat a customer in a way that's not fair or ethical?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think like closing both of those doors and letting them know like, hey, I'm not going to compromise my standards to get you to work for me or to get you to do this job. I think that goes a long way. And then just like building their confidence, letting them know that like making high income and doing it in a way that's honest is very possible. And there's a lot of examples in that in our industry.
100%.
There's a lot of bad stories too.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of guys who are doing this the right way and, they have incredible lives because of it.
Ryan, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
This has been awesome ripping with you, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
You're a stud. I love
Appreciate
seeing
it.
great guys doing, big moves in the industry. And the transparency thing, dude, I freaking love it. Don't lose it. Keep it up.
Thank you.
I love that. It's one of our core values at Sparta. It's transparency.
Appreciate that, man.
It's so good. So keep crushing. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Where can people find you?
On Instagram.
There we go. Okay. Thanks,
right.
Ryan.